She has been called one of the most influential fitness professionals of our time. Keli Roberts has spent 40 years training celebrities, shaping the fitness industry, and inspiring everyday people to stay strong and vibrant. We get to talk to the superstar about her recovery from shoulder surgery, about some behind the scenes of some top celebrities she has trained like Cher, and her truths about fitness, longevity, and reinventing yourself after 50. So make sure you tune in. This conversation's for you.
As always, Keli, well said. Let's get to it. Okay, welcome to the Fit Over 50 podcast. My name is Mark Patrick and my co-host is Keli Calabrese. And we actually have an exciting show today. I'm surrounded by Kellys today. I have Keli Roberts and then we have Keli Calabrese today. So it is a Keli day today. Hello, ladies. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Yeah.
All right. So
Keli squared.
Keli squared. I wasn't sure how to call it, but it's exciting. So we got a great show for you today. Keli Roberts has been if I say celebrity trainer, does that kind of corner you into a niche? But you've trained some of the top celebrities. You've been in the business for many, many years. We're really looking forward to what you're going to bring to the table today. What I'd like before we hear your story and how you got into this, because I'm really interested in hearing that, is Keli, this is hard. Keli Calabrese, would you please share a little background about Keli Roberts?
I'd be so happy to. So our guest today is a true legend in the world of fitness. I have been a fan of hers for many years. She has received many awards, including being named IDEA's Inspirational Fitness Instructor of the Year. She's in the National Fitness Hall of Fame. She has spent decades, and this is so impressive, leading our industry, coaching celebrities, as Mark said, starring in best-selling videos. If you've been doing fitness for any amount of time, you have seen Keli. She has been educating trainers worldwide. So she is an icon for those of us who have been in the industry. And she's more than a superstar trainer, though. Keli is a survivor, she's a teacher, she's an innovator, and she believes it is never too late to get stronger, fitter, leaner, more mobile. And she's candid about that, and that's why we have her here to talk about the real stuff and the struggles and the reinvention, and she is powerfully continuing to walk the walk. So Keli, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm very excited, Keli. Thank you for having me, and thanks, Mark.
Can you share with our listeners and viewers your backstory, how you kind of got involved in the fitness industry and any of the challenges you may have gotten through to get you there? So let's hear about that first and foremost, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. I actually got involved in fitness back in 1986, so it's almost 40 years that I've been an instructor and involved in the fitness industry. But I got into fitness. My first job out of school was working as a model, and I was living in Milan, modeling in Europe, and I had a massive eating disorder. I was anorexic and bulimic, which, in modeling in the 80s in Europe, you had to be so thin. I remember being told that I needed to lose weight, and I was 120 pounds, and I'm 5'9". So that was, that's 20 pounds less than I weigh now, and I'm about 15% body fat. So I was very underweight at 120 pounds, and I was told to lose weight. And I came back from Europe, and I got into therapy because I knew that I needed help. And through therapy and a lot of support, I started eating again, and in 9 months I went from a size 2 to a size 14 because it had been many years since I'd really eaten, and my metabolism was at a standstill, I suspect. Anyway, I knew I couldn't diet, so I went to an aerobics class actually, and I was on welfare. And I didn't have any athletic shoes because I didn't have the money for athletic shoes. I'd gotten to the gym on a free pass. And I was thinking, maybe I could exercise. And the instructor yelled at me for not having shoes. And I hated the class. I hated every moment of it. There were mirrors everywhere. I was so ashamed of how I looked. I was wearing a huge, big, baggy T-shirt, and I couldn't keep up with anyone, and it was just a really bad experience. So I went to the pool and started swimming laps. And I didn't have a car or a driver's license, so I used to walk to the pool. And the pool was a 45-minute walk. And I would swim for 15 minutes and then walk 45 minutes home. So I was doing 90 minutes of walking and 15 minutes of swimming. And I thought this, after several months, I lost a lot of weight, and I got to a healthy weight. I was just, then a size 4, and I went back to modeling, and I was fired from a modeling job for being too big at size 4. And I thought, if this is how women are being represented, then I don't want to have anything to do with it. This is not for me. And I went into my modeling agency the next day and said I'd rather clean toilets than be a model. And I didn't know what I was going to do, but I had some money in the bank because I had just done a big TV commercial. And I was going to, by then I was going to the gym. I had quit smoking. I was fit. I was loving the gym. And I went to the gym, and one of the girls at the gym was an instructor, and she said, you should do this course. It's in Sydney. It's called ACHPA, the Australian Council for Health, Education and Recreation, and you should become an instructor. So I did the course. It was a 2-week, a 14-day course. We learned how to be aerobic instructors and how to work the gym floor, how to do fitness assessments and programming for fitness development in general. And I became a registered fitness leader by doing 40 hours of face-to-face work, and I've never looked back. I fell in love with fitness because I knew that fitness instructors can make a difference, that we touch people's lives in ways that really help people, and that's what I wanted to do. And I knew that modeling was not for me.
Wow, that's powerful.
Go ahead, Kelly. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got certified the first time in 1987, April of 87, through AFA, so I was right there behind you. And you have stayed in it. I mean, you have been in the trenches. You have evolved through so many trends in the fitness industry. What have you done to, stay so relevant? Because honestly, today I look at some of these, young girls coming up that are 22 and they're all cute and on YouTube and they've got thousands and millions of followers, and you have stayed so committed and so relevant. What has been the motivator and just the thing that keeps you going?
I think the thing that keeps me going is that I'm very curious and I love to learn. So, in the last year I did my NASM Corrective Exercise Specialist certification. I did ACES Senior Fitness Specialist. I did FAI's Personal Trainer certification. I did ISSA's Recovery Exercise Specialist and Brain Trainer. So I think when you continue your education, you stay relevant because you stay in the thick of what is actually happening now. And I think one of the most important things I learned very early on was about the benefits of strength training. And I think when you stay current with the trends in resistance training and strength training, you do stay relevant because it's what's happening now.
So let me back it up a second here. So you became an aerobic instructor in Australia, correct?
That's right.
And when did you move to the States, and where did you move to the States? And then how the heck did you get your calling to work with celebrities? How did all that come about?
That's a good question. In 1989, I got fired from a job in Sydney. I lost my job and broke up from an engagement all at the same, right about the same time. So I was like, I knew I wanted to teach continuing education. I knew that that was my goal, because back in the 80s, the people instructing classes were doing pretty awful things, and not many people were certified, because the people teaching class were the people who were in the front row of the aerobics class, and the instructor didn't show up, and so they became the instructor. So there wasn't a real integration of education, and I knew I wanted to teach continuing education. So I came to the United States in 1990 to learn to teach continuing education. And I wanted to do the ACE certification. It was then called Idea Foundation. And I did the ACE personal training certification in 1991. And right around that time, right after I got here, I was hired by Voight Fitness and Dance in West Hollywood. And it was a really happening studio. And it was my dream job. It was like, I came here to do the ACE certification and take classes at Voight. And Karen Voight's studio was like the mecca of fitness in Los Angeles. And I really was blown away that I got hired, and I picked up a celebrity clientele. Everyone was in my class. Nicole Kidman was in my class. Beverly Johnson was in my class. Lauren Hutton was in my class. Jeff Goldblum was in my class. And I very quickly developed a celebrity clientele. And they were the woman who was producing Cher's video back in 1991, Nancy Del Torres, was taking my class, my abs, buns, and thighs class, and she wanted me to audition for Cher's video. Cher was doing a video in 1991, and I was hired. I auditioned, and I got the role, if you will, of teaching the legs section of a long video, of a 90-minute video. And when I auditioned with Cher, she said, well, what would you do with me? And she needed to lose some weight. She was carrying some weight, and she was very deconditioned. And so I had taken all of the workshops to become a step instructor, but I wasn't teaching because I was too scared. And I said, I think you should do step. It'd be perfect for you because it's non-impact and it burns a lot of calories and it does great things for your lower body and it's a lot of fun. And so I started coming to her house to rehearse the leg section, but blindly I thought she needed to do step. So I started doing step, legs, and core. And she, after a few weeks, she asked me to do a video on my own, because the video originally was one video, and it was dance with Dory Sanchez, who was Cher's choreographer for her shows, upper body with Karen Andez, legs with me, and core with Anita Morales. But I started doing step, legs, and core. And Cher liked it so much she wanted to do two videos, one with upper body and dance and one with step, legs, and core. And the one with step, legs, and core was with me. So that's what I did. She had to talk me into it. I was pretty scared. But it really ended up being a good thing, because I ended up becoming her personal trainer. She was working with Tony Cortez, who was Linda Hamilton's trainer during Terminator. And he was training Cher for 2 hours a day. And he was doing a lot of high-intensity interval training. And she was really suffering. She wasn't doing well. She was not thriving. And she went on tour to... it was her Love Hurts tour, and she asked me to tour with her because Tony wasn't available. And so I did. I went to Atlantic City with her, and I just trained her for 1 hour a day. And she felt so much better and got better results by training less that she asked me to become her trainer, and she left Tony and I became her trainer and then toured with her around the world.
So I got a good Cher story for you. So I always got a story for everything here. So I don't know what year it was. I think she was 71 at the time, and I just told my ex-wife and my kids at the time. I'm like, yeah, Cher's awesome entertainer. I would love to see her one day. Next thing you know, they bought me tickets. I was like, it was me and 9 million gay guys there, and middle-aged women there at the time. I mean, nothing against all of you, but I was like, what am I doing here? So she's a 71. She's on stage, and you probably get credit for her core on this. She's like, I just did a, I don't know, 6-7 minute plank before I got on stage here. She says, and then I'm doing this. She says, where's your granny tonight? What is she doing? And I was like blown away by how amazing the shape she was in there. So that's a pretty darn good plank. So maybe Keli, she could thank you for that plank that she has for the rest of her life here for sure. So
Yeah, well, there's reversibility. She still trains, but I'm not her trainer anymore. But she's always been very driven.
for sure, and great shape too.
Oh
So
yeah,
she's managed to hold up there. So
oh yeah, she looks great.
she does look great here. Keli, the other Keli. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, what is it like to train a celebrity like Cher? I mean, you have trained so many people, obviously, but can you kind of peel back a little bit? What's that world like? Is it any different than working with, the average Joe or Mary?
It's similar and different all at the same time because people sweat no matter what, and Cher sweats like you. She's one of those people who really, really sweats, and she would wrap a diaper around her head because she would sweat into her eyes. She really is one of those people who sweats. So in that way, she's the same, but in another way, she's not because she's Cher and she's very special and she's a brilliant performer and a brilliant actress, and she'd probably be used to having people say yes to her all the time, and that makes her different than someone who is just happy to be training with you.
So, do you find celebrities are more difficult to deal with than average people, or they they are wired at a different level, or are they just big babies? Or is it a combination of all?
Um,
Keli, we want to find the dirt out. So,
the dirt.
we're chomping at the bit to find out the dirty dirt here. So, and share that with our audience. But we want to be respectful of that too. So,
Well, when your profession, how you look depends on your profession. When your profession depends on how you look, when there's that synergy of looking a certain way and being able to maintain your profession, then there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of drive to look good, and so there's motivation beyond just wanting to wanting to lose 10 pounds. So there's a drive to train that is different than most people, I think.
well, a lot of times, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we had a trainer on back in Fit Over 50 Life 1.0, Keli. I can't remember the name, and I apologize, but they said that they train differently because they're training short term for like a movie role or something like that. It's big different training schedule than you would train somebody like Cher for longevity, so to speak. Losing and getting shredded for a role and being buff or whatever it may be is a lot different than training for just overall health.
Well, I think that's true. And, someone like Cher trains for longevity. She doesn't, she certainly, when I was training her, we got her ready for a world tour. And that was very, dancing on stage and multiple costume changes and late nights and stress and travel and a different city every day. And so, that takes a special type of fitness, but it also takes training for longevity. It's not just, and I think that's why Cher liked what I was doing with her, because I was training her in a very realistic and sustainable way.
So I think I figured out a way to word this. So, what is the most interesting story you have without giving the celebrity's name? Now, interesting can be they're a big pain in the ass. Okay, it can be something unique or a quirk that they had, or something that just drove you maybe bonkers crazy, but you maintained homeostasis. You stayed calm during the whole thing. What's the wackiest thing that you've experienced in your training history? How about that?
There's two instances. One was a personal training story. I was training a very, very famous actress, and she insisted she wouldn't do an exercise unless she could see herself in the mirror. So I was constantly having to move the bench around so that she could face, she had to see herself. That was really irritating for me because, you have to, I think, as you go further on your fitness journey, like a mirror can be helpful, but at a certain point you have to develop an internal mirror and a sense of kinesthetic awareness and proprioception and an awareness of your body without a mirror. And then another one was when I was teaching at Voight, this very, very famous actress and model came to my class, and she had a plastic cast on her foot and ankle. And it was an abs, buns, and thighs class. And we were doing standing legs. So squats, lunges. I was like, what are you doing here? You can't be here. You're crazy.
Kelly, you've seen so many trends, all of them, over the last 4 decades. I mean, from slides to bands to gliders. You have been certified in everything. I think we got certified at the same time in spinning with Johnny Goldberg. I was in one of his first classes. And so fast forward to today, what are the things that are fitness trends today that are some of the good things that you're supportive of that you see?
I think there's a huge trend to strength training, and I'm a big supporter of that. I think strength training is so important as you get older to maintain your muscle mass, to maintain your independence, to just so many good things come from strength training. But also I see a big trend for recovery, and that's quite new. I've been preaching recovery for about 8 years, and I was teaching workshops at conventions, and no one was coming. It was an empty room. I was like talking to 4 people. It was tragic. No one was interested. And then this year at Idea World, I did a session called Recovery RX, and it was full. I had like 60 people in that room, and they were all really engaged and interested in the different aspects of exercise recovery and how to optimize exercise recovery. So that was really nice. And for me, that's all about mobility and flexibility and intentional recovery, whether that's aerobic or stretching or foam rolling or vibration.
So let's go down that rabbit hole if we can. Since you taught that class, can you share a few specifics that you would suggest to our audience? We've all been at this game for a while. Some of us are at more of an intense level than others, but we got quite a bit of recovery we could use. What is it that you would teach in those classes that our listeners or viewers could take home with them right now that they could apply to their life?
I think if you're doing a lot of high intensity interval training, if you're getting intensity in your workout, which you should, maybe 2 days a week, then you really need to be intentional with your recovery. And because HIIT elevates cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, noradrenaline. So all your stress hormones are elevated from high intensity interval training. And then if you're not getting great quality sleep, then you'll end up with chronically high cortisol levels, which is very destructive to your body. So doing something like a gentle, slow stroll, an easy walk, or a very intentional bike ride where you keep your heart rate below 100 and it's a flat ride, or maybe on a stationary bike, something where you're bringing the parasympathetic nervous system up and getting the sympathetic nervous system to settle down, because the sympathetic nervous system is elevated from high intensity work. So that's the first part of the story. So the aerobic part of the story, zone 1 training, if you will. And that's, you can do 1 to 2 days a week. And then things like mobility training, stretching, foam rolling should be something that you do on a daily basis to maintain your body's mobility, freedom of movement, and range of motion. And then sleep. Sleep is, the new steroid. There's more and more research coming out about sleep and the importance and the difference that it makes to your health span, your well-being, your brain health. So sleep. So I would say sleep, active recovery, such as aerobic active recovery, and then mobility type training where you're foam rolling, stretching. And foam rolling and stretching could be done every day. The active recovery in zone 1 to 2 days a week, depending on your age. Over the age of 40, high intensity interval training shouldn't really make up much more than 5% of your total training time, your total volume. So you really
Can you
want to
explain zone 1? I don't think everybody
Okay.
understands what a
So
zone
if
1
if
heart rate is, or yeah, just explain that.
okay, zone 1, if you had 7 power zones for training that we use in cycling, or 5 zones for heart rate, zone 1 is where your breathing is so comfortable that you can breathe in and out through your nose with your mouth closed. It's very, very light intensity. It's a gentle walk. It's a very easy bike ride. It is super, super light, easy intensity. That's how I would explain zone 1. Zone 2 is your endurance zone, and that's where you're kind of burning fat. You're still very comfortable. Zone 3 is called tempo, where you're starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with your mouth open to breathe, but you're still very comfortable. And then zone 4, you're starting to breathe with your mouth open. Your breathing starts to become a little bit more urgent. Zone 5 is like, okay, I'm breathing hard. Zone 6 is I'm getting very breathless, and I'm out of breath.
Thank you. Another question. Sorry, Kelly C. Before I forget. So we all grew up in the 80s, and technology to us was a VCR. Okay, or so how have you embraced some of the technology today, or are you still kind of old school? You got the watches, you got this, and there's so many different things. Is there anything that you see that is crap, and anything that you see that really benefits people that they could start using if they're not using now?
I think I have embraced technology. I have a Garmin watch, and that has heart rate variability. It gives me a sleep score. The battery lasts for about 3 weeks. It's phenomenal. It's a great device. It also measures my VO2, or estimates my VO2. And I also had an Apple Watch, and the Apple Watch had my VO2 measured or estimated at 22. Now, if you know anything about VO2, you know that that's below average. So it was before I got my Garmin. My Apple Watch was saying my VO2 was 22, and I was like, that just doesn't seem right. So I went to a lab, and I got measured at a lab with the whole mask on, and measures your exhalations, and it gives you a very accurate. It's the gold standard for estimating your fitness performance, and I'm superior. My VO2 is 41. My Garmin estimates my VO2 at 42.
And what
So,
did Apple get it right or
no,
no?
no, Apple got it very
Just no.
wrong. 22.
Did you see Apple came out yesterday with their new iPhone? As we're recording this, it's September 10th, and they're all about incorporating health into the technology big time. So I think that's pretty exciting. I think they were talking about with the AirPods or something, being able to check your heart rate through your ears. Don't ask me how they do that. So that's pretty weird. So VO2, why is that important?
Well, VO2 is very closely correlated to longevity. The higher your VO2, the longer you are going to live healthfully. It's not just your lifespan, it's your health span. So VO2, the maximum amount of oxygen that you can use while you're still aerobic, is a measurement that measures your fitness level, but it also is very closely correlated to longevity and health span. That grip strength, and walking speed's connected to VO2. So, but VO2 is very, very connected to your lifespan.
And what can we do to increase or improve our VO2? What are some of the things that we could do to improve?
Well, aerobic exercise improves your VO2, but so does high intensity interval training. So that's why we want to do some HIIT training, high intensity interval training, where you're getting breathless and you're doing intervals of really intense work combined with intervals of recovery. And that's anaerobic work where you're completely out of breath, because HIIT training does great things for your muscles and for your brain. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, is secreted when we do high-intensity interval training, and that BDNF creates new synapses in our brains. So it's very, very powerful for your brain, for neuroplasticity, as well as it tends to recruit your fast twitch muscle fibers, and that's what we lose when we age. So high intensity interval training is fantastic for building VO2, but so is steady state long duration. But that takes more time. And if you're short of time, then doing HIIT twice a week is a great way to build your fast twitch muscle fibers and help your brain and build your VO2.
Kelly, did you ever get your VO2 checked or no?
No, but I need to. Kelly,
Yeah,
I've
I
been
didn't get mine checked.
working.
See, we always say, Kelly, that the shows are only for Kelly and I, nobody else, because we're just trying to
I
improve our
am
lives.
going to. Kelly, I've been working with the longevity clinic here in Dallas, and I am slowly getting all of the testing and assessments done. So that one is on my list. I'm happy to say my brain came up 15 years younger than my chronological age, so that was good. And my bone density was actually pretty good, but showing some signs in my hip. So I'm working on a whole osteo plan for bone growth with some supplements and more resistance training. I walked with my weighted vest this morning for 40 minutes. So I'm all about it. So every time I learn something, in fact, this morning on our page, Fit Over 50 Life, one of our trainers on there was talking about grip strength. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I went on Amazon and I ordered the grip strength and I sent one to my mom. I'm like, I'm going to leave it on my desk and I'm going to practice because I don't want to, I live alone. I don't want to not be able to open a jar. I want to be able to have good grip strength. So measuring these things matter. And this one does show you what your strength is, right and left. And so it's a little competitive to see how we're improving. So I love the devices. I'm going to look into the Garmin because it sounds like it's more accurate. But I think it's important that we measure.
Which Garmin do you have?
I have the Garmin Phoenix 7, and
Okay.
it has it also has a solar aspect to it, so it can charge with solar power.
That's good.
So it's
That's
a
good.
really good watch. I like the accuracy of it.
Okay.
And it gives me a sleep score, which I like, and because the battery is so long lasting, you sleep in it. So it does everything an Aura ring does. So I don't have to wear
And
a ring.
what's the other one
And
that begins with
uh,
the S? I forget. It's a watch that begins with the S. I had purchased one of those, and then I started seeing my sleep score, and it was horrible. I was like, get rid of this thing. I don't want to even know. My sleep is not the
Well,
best.
speaking of solar powered, I know you're a nature girl, Kelly. You love to be outdoors. You're a big cyclist. You've been competitively cycling. I don't know if you're still doing that, but is, being outdoors a part of your current routine? You're still cycling?
Yeah, very much so. Not competitively anymore. I raced cyclocross until the pandemic. Um, and then when the pandemic hit, racing shut down, and I went into doing more endurance cycling. So, year before last, I did 7 100-mile rides, 7 centuries, and lots of 80s and 70s, and a short ride is kind of 40 miles for me these days. So I'm still
Oh,
riding. Next week we have one of those camper vans, one of those Sprinter vans, one of those,
yeah.
a Mercedes Sprinter that's decked out for camping, and we're taking that to Moab to go mountain biking.
Oh, that's beautiful
Oh,
there. Yeah.
that's going to be incredible. I love that. I ride every day, even if it's just 10 miles. I just have to get out there, and that's my peace, just the time outside, and just something about being in that saddle is beautiful. Well, that sounds amazing. Kelly, I know, when we get to our age, we've had some injuries and some setbacks along the way. I believe you've had a shoulder surgery or maybe two and some other health things. How have you overcome those mentally and also physically? How do you do some workarounds when you're dealing with injuries?
Well, I had a pretty rough year last year. I had a shoulder replacement on my right side done in January of last year, and I had I didn't have a good physical therapist. I had a very aggressive physical therapist who tore my rotator cuff, which meant I had to have a revision to reverse replacement in November. So within 10 months, I had 2 shoulder replacements on the right side. So I was in constant pain all last year. And I was in pain before that. That's why I had to have the shoulder replaced. So I really had 2 years of pretty severe pain and dysfunction, and a year without my right arm, and I'm right-handed. It was really bad. And I took a really deep dive into meditation last year, and that was my saving grace. I think meditation really made the world of difference. I started writing in the morning. I started getting up very early in the morning to do a gratitude list and do a morning meditation. And then after I do my morning meditation, I would do my rehab exercises. So I worked really hard in rehab. At first, for the first shoulder replacement unsuccessfully, I really had no range of motion and I was in a lot of pain. But once I had the revision done in November, it's been full steam ahead. I've really maintained the morning meditation and gratitude list, and I'm still doing my morning stretches and strengthening routine for my shoulder. And I saw my doctor on Thursday, and he said I'm in the 95th percentile for my range of motion. And I've gained a lot of strength back. I'm stronger than I was before my shoulder surgery. I can now do a shoulder press with 10-pound dumbbells, and I couldn't do more than 3 pounds after the first surgery. And well, I couldn't lift my arm overhead at all, but I couldn't lift more than 3 pounds. And so within a few months, I've gone from 3 pounds to 10 pounds and continuing to get stronger. So that's exciting. But I worked really hard. I didn't sit around feeling sorry for myself.
That's impressive. You're obviously very determined and committed. What would you say to the person who is sitting home feeling sorry for themselves?
That motivation is not a feeling, it's an action. It's doing it regardless of how you feel, that you do the next indicated thing regardless of whether you feel like doing it or not. You show up for yourself.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. So Kelly, what does your routine look like today? You look amazing. So fitness, nutrition, are you doing peptides? Inquiring minds want to know. How are you looking so amazing?
I have just a pretty regular diet. I eat plenty of protein, a lot of fiber, good complex carbohydrates, and I have a daily treat like a little ice cream or something like that at night, or chocolate or something like that. So I'm not rigid, but it has, my nutrition has breathing room for treats and luxuries, and so I wouldn't say it's a rigid diet by any stretch of the imagination. This morning I was up at 5. I did my morning meditation, and I did my bike ride this morning. I did a stationary bike ride for an hour. Most days I ride. Most days I ride. I have a, at least 1 day to 2 days of rest, 2 days of recovery. And the other days I push the envelope, I go hard. So, and I strength train 2 to 3 days a week. And I stretch most days.
Good. Yeah, that sounds like an amazing routine, and you're making me feel good about the little something, something, little piece of chocolate. Well, because that's me too. I'm pretty much on Mediterranean all the time, but just a little with no guilt. That's the part. Just no guilt.
No guilt. I think there's room in your diet to have a treat, to have breathing room. There's no room in my diet for rigid thinking.
That's good. I love that. So, Keli, what do you want your legacy to be after 40 years of being a leader, icon, on the forefront, training the trainers, impacting literally tens of thousands, if not millions of people? What do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be that two things, that you have the triad of fitness. You've got your strength, you've got your cardio, and you've got your flexibility. So there's a strong triangle of fitness, and that knowing that motivation is not a feeling, that you show up regardless of how you feel, and know that once you do the work, the benefits are there. You don't have to wait to feel like doing it.
That's good. So what's next for you? What's coming up?
Well, I just launched a virtual video platform. So I'm very excited about that. It's in its infancy. I'm adding content to it a few days a week. It incorporates a lot of strength, flexibility, and then boxing, kickboxing, and cycling for the cardio. And so I'm very excited about that. I've had people who followed my work, the consumers who followed my work, started following me when I did that video with Cher, and then did my own videos. And I've been filming for other companies, but I haven't filmed for myself ever. And I wanted to do this last year, but because of my shoulder, I couldn't launch. And so I finally launched mid-year this year, and it's in its infancy. I'm just starting, but I'm so excited to be offering my brand of fitness and doing what I believe is what people need.
Good for you. What a great legacy, product. And we definitely want to tell people how to find it. So please tell people where to go to find out more.
Well, it's on my website. It's keliroberts.com, Keli Roberts, ROBERTS.com. And I'm super excited because it's affordable. It's less than $20 a month. You can try for a free 3-day trial to see if it's for you. And so far, everyone who's been trying it is subscribing it. So it's exciting for me, because I've wanted to be able to, I have my own beliefs about what I think is important in fitness, and I'm doing that. I'm able to do that with my own platform.
You're from Australia, correct?
That's correct.
So what's one thing you miss? I know we're kind of wrapping things up here. What's one thing you miss about Australia? Food, mindset, the water, anything. What's one thing you miss about Australia that...
Can I have two things that I miss?
No, you can only have one.
Come never true. Be flexible.
We
Don't be
go
rigid,
over our
Mark.
time limit here, and then
You're
they
being
cut
rigid.
us off. Of course.
Um, I really miss the ocean there. The water. I live in Southern California, and the water here is cold.
Yeah.
Well, it's very refreshing when it's at its warmest. But the water in Australia at the beaches that I go to is just heaven. It's such a great temperature. It's still refreshing, but it's still, it's at a temperature where you don't want to get out. But I miss the sense of humor, and I miss my family.
I hope you get to visit. I know fitness has taken you around the world. What has been some of the best places you visited?
I think Istanbul is one of my favorite places that I visited. I love Istanbul. I had a Turkish bath, and I thought she was going to remove my skin. She scrubbed so hard. Um, and Italy, I lived in Italy, so I speak the language, and going there is really easy for me because I love speaking Italian, and I love the food, and I love the architecture and the fashion, and the cycling. And Italy is such a wonderful country, and I've had some great experiences there.
So on the subject of Italy, is it true what they say about the food system there when it comes to the carbohydrates versus the carbohydrates here? People eat them there and they end up losing weight, or is that just BS?
That I don't know. Um, I was doing a reality show in Italy for 4 months several years ago, and I was staying in a small town in the mountains, and I was the trainer, and the contestants were doing a cross between Biggest Loser and American Idol. They were singers who were getting a makeover, and I ate in a little restaurant that had the best pizza, like the best pizza. I ate pizza every single day for 4 months, and I got fat.
Okay, so much for that myth.
You, uh, so I think a calorie is a calorie, but I don't know if I'd done that here. The pizza there is so good, and it's not deep dish with doughy and super gooper cheesy. It's light, but even light pizza every day for 4 months is going to make you get a little round.
Mark, have you been to Italy?
One place on the bucket list I haven't
Oh
been
my
to yet.
goodness. I've been 10 times. I would go to the airport right now and
Kelly,
take to Rome. I love
I
it.
have to live vicariously through Kelly here. So she's always jet setting here.
Find a
So
way
we
to
can
get
barely
back
get
there.
this dang podcast going here. She's in between. So it squeezes me in, Kelly.
Uh,
So
Well, Kelly, this has been wonderful. We appreciate you sharing your story. You're about so much more than fitness, just, resilience and reinvention, and you're such an inspiration. We appreciate your physical strength, your mental strength, your emotional strength, and we definitely want to support your platform. So make sure people go to your website, kellyroberts.com, and they can find out about your branded training, which I love. I'm so thankful that you're bringing that to the world with your virtual membership. So Kelly, thank you for being an icon and just being real and raw and just being such a powerful voice for fitness. You're an inspiration. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been very fun.
Kelly, thank you so much for being on the show. You are truly an authentic person, and you definitely walk the walk and talk the talk. And we appreciate what you shared here today. And we wish you the luck. Everybody watching or listening, go check out kellyroberts.com and get on board and get this thing going. You could turn your life around in just one click of a button. That's simple. Outside of that,
Okay.
that's a wrap. Thank you so much. That is a wrap. Hopefully you all got something out of this you could apply to your life and live a healthier lifestyle. In the meantime, thank you for your time and attention. We will see you on the next episode. Bye-bye now.
Bye.